Coming up on the South Florida High School Football Show, we'll preview the contenders. Can Norland be a repeat champion? Plus, St. Thomas and Columbus are primed to make a run toward the state championship. And all the top quarterbacks in Dade and Broward County. All of that and more on the South Florida High School Football Show. Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. as we come to you from Dave & Buster's, your eat, drink, and play destination to enjoy serious football action. Don Bailey Jr., it is our 9th year.
Well, Joe, I'm ready for some football. How about you?
I can't wait. And coming up on our show, we'll have some key highlights for you, including the big game between Norland and Northwestern, and a big preview between St. Thomas and Don Bosco Prep. Time now for our opening kickoff segment. So let's take a look at some of the teams that are going to be making a chase toward the state championship this year. And we'll start with Norland High School trying to repeat.
Well, you have to start with Norland, Joe. They won the state championship last year, but they are without Duke Johnson and Eric Flowers. The offense is gone. All the production, all the things that those two players did, they're now doing at the collegiate level and doing it very well. If Norland is going to repeat, they're going to do it the old-fashioned way. They say defense wins championships, and that's what Norland's going to have to hang their hat on.
Their defense is led by defensive lineman Paul James, and they think that their defensive line might be the best in the state.
Well, and it could be, Joe. You've got D1 written across everybody's back across that D-line. Coach Heidelberg's done a fantastic job of preparing for this day. He knew what Duke Johnson brought to the offense. He understood how to get his team to a state championship last year. They will do extremely well through Dade County, but can they put up the points? And the defense has got to keep everybody out of the end zone.
Well, as we have seen with Duke Johnson, you know that the Norland team is going to be well coached.
That's for sure, Joe. You can tell by how the young men adapt at the collegiate level on what they were taught in high school. A great foundation has been laid at Norland. The basic fundamentals are in place. Now is at the production, and it's going to be a complete change of hat. As we mentioned, it goes from all offense to big defense.
All right, let's move on to Broward County. We'll talk about St. Thomas. Now, St. Thomas and Columbus played a week ago. We'll talk about both those teams. First, let's discuss St. Thomas, and they got off to a great start.
Well, they did, Joe. They've got a quarterback in O'Corn who's done a nice job in the fact that he was groomed last year. He didn't have to come in as a junior, and he wasn't thrown into the fire right away. He understands the system. He understands his reads. He's able to run that offense. He has a good enough running game to help support the passing game. But more importantly, they don't make mistakes. St. Thomas is known for running a clean program. When I talk about clean, I mean on the penalty part of it. They're not going to make the mistakes. They've got an offensive line that opens up the holes. It's very, very well coached, and St. Thomas is going to be in it as they always are.
That running game was effective against Columbus. We saw Fred Coppett break some big runs, and he is their big play running back.
He is, Joe, but let's face it, they have some complementary players at wide receiver, but Coppett is the guy that they're going to hang their hat on. He's going to give them the time of possession. He's a big enough back to where he can pound it in short yards, but he's fast enough where he can take it to the house from any given spot. But as we know, Joey Boza, one of the best players in the state, and really when you talk to people around the country, there's not too many schools that wouldn't mind having him on their roster next year. But he's been dinged up a little bit. But St. Thomas, when you get into that level of championship play like we were just talking about with Norland, you need defense, and they need Boza.
That game against Columbus was a high-level game. And speaking of Columbus, they proved that they can play with the best in Dade and Broward County. Had a great season a year ago. Chris Merrick does a great job as their head coach.
He does, and they've lost a lot of talent, too. This is a team that was loaded with D1 talent last year. They've got running back Daryl Chestnut, who's going to be a key to their offense and really to their whole team. Similar to when you talk about the Coppett kid for St. Thomas, where they are going to count on them week in and week out. And when you look at Columbus, the thing that you want to make sure is that towards the end of the season, this is a healthy team. This is a team where you can't lose your marquee players, but more importantly, they're a well-coached team, very similar to St. Thomas. They've had some confidence wins and played in some big games, and that helps you down the road.
Chris Merritt thought that the way they would get to the championship this year is if they win the battles in the trenches.
Well, listen, we can go back and forth about specialty players, and we're going to talk about quarterbacks later on in the show. But the teams that have the line of scrimmage controlled, especially if you can control both sides of it, you are going to have an opportunity to win because that allows you to dominate the play.
All right, another team that could make some headlines this year in Broward County University School, already making headlines, went on the road and dominated in Ohio, went up to the Treasure Coast, dominated up there as well, surprisingly doing it with some great defense.
Well, University School is a team that's been pushing the envelope year in and year out. The last 2 years they've gotten very, very close to where they want to be. I'm a big proponent of going on the road and testing yourself against teams from other states and also other parts of the state of Florida. When you're able to do that and have success, when you can get out of Dade or Broward County, you're going to see the best of what the other teams have to offer, and you're going to need that taste when it comes to playoff time.
On offense, they have the great quarterback, and of course they have a wide receiver, Jordan Cunningham, that everybody wants.
Well, Cunningham is one of the top players in the country. That anybody and everybody would take him. And then when you combine him with a skillful quarterback who does a good job placing the football, you have instant success.
All right, that's a look at 4 teams that could make a run toward the state title this year in our opening kickoff segment. Now, let's take a look at some of the big highlights from this past weekend. Here's Joe Rose.
Thanks, Joe and Don. Some great football in Dade County. A lot of really good football teams this year. Let's take a look. Longtime rivalry between Columbus and Belen at FIU. Usually these games are competitive, but not Friday night. Already up 14-3. Columbus running back Daryl Chestnut blows it open, takes the handoff, sprints 80 yards for the touchdown, makes it an 18-point lead. Then Jesus Wilson pads the lead with the catch and run for a score. He is good and on his way to Florida State. Explorers roll big, 49-3 the final. Hey, defending state champion Norland facing Northwestern at Trask Powell Stadium. Bulls up 7-0 when Darius Tice breaks a couple of tackles in the backfield, goes 13 yards for the touchdown. He earned it, makes it a 14-point lead at the half. Second half, more Northwestern with that big offensive line. Tice again, this time making it look way too easy. Bulls knock off Norland, 24-6 the final. And don't forget, you can go to SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com for the rest of the scores here in South Florida.
The South Florida High School Football Show is brought to you by Metro PCS, the U.S. Army, BP Gasoline, U18 Sports Medicine, Adidas, Sir Pizza, South Florida Chevy Dealers, Tico People's Gas, and Dave & Buster's.
A few years ago, I decided to push myself further. College, graduate school, degrees in aeronautics and engineering. And I learned that being my best means getting the best from everyone around me. Becoming an Army officer taught me to set high objectives and quickly rise to meet them. Kinda like a rocket.
An Army officer learns to reach new heights and inspires others to do the same. Can you? Find out at goarmy.com/officer.
They watch me all the time. And I think my mom found my stash of Sir Pizza boxes.
My parents are totally convinced that my ranch dressing habit is becoming a serious problem.
I told them I only eat squares and with only crumbled bits of pepperoni. They say that's how it all starts.
They just don't understand how good it is. A special blend of cheese, the sauce, the crunchiness, the dough.
But I can totally stop whenever I want.
It's not a problem. I'm in complete control.
.9 is a breakthrough. 6.9 is a physics lesson. 6.9 is the outer limits. 6.9 is an explosion. Uh-oh, he just got faster. Wait, how'd you know that? 6.9 is ounces, and that makes this the lightest ever.
The recruiting segment is brought to you by Metro PCS, wireless for all.
The South Florida High School Football Show continues now. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. at Dave & Buster's in Hollywood, right off of Sheridan Street. Dave & Buster's, your eat, drink, and play destination to enjoy serious football action. Time now to talk about recruiting with Larry Bluestein. We're going to talk about quarterbacks in Dade and Broward County.
Well, you need a quarterback, Joe, and no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if you have one that's a marquee player, he can give you a big opportunity to win that state championship.
You know what quarterbacks do, don't you?
Do they make the call?
They make the call.
Okay.
You've been waiting since last year for this segment.
Yeah, I don't know if I can wait any longer,
All
Joe.
right, well, let me dial up Blue on my Metro PCS 4G Huawei Activa. Okay, Blue, let's talk about the top quarterbacks in Dade and Broward. What do you have for us?
Hey, Joe, Don, thanks so much. I got the great phone, same one you guys have, and it's going to be a great year, I can tell already. We're going to start it out with quarterbacks. We'll start in Dade County with Troy Cook. If you remember last year, Troy Cook was one of the top juniors. He played at Palmetto. Now he moves to South Ridge. This puts balance into Coach Lamont Green's offense, and this is going to be a great year for the Spartans. Everybody knows that already. Speaking about great years, what about Akeem Jones from Carroll City? This is a quarterback that was like 6'1", 6'2" years ago. He's up to 6'3" now. He can throw it all over the field, had an awesome summer. I'm so proud of him. He works so hard. He wants to get in the mix. They're in a great district, as you guys know. Also, Toro Nelson. This is a name that a lot of people may not know. He's from Dr. Crop. You got to remember, Dr. Crop, for some reason, every year, guys, they get into that mix, and Toro Nelson's going to be one of those quarterbacks that's certainly going to let them do that. We move into Broward County, one of the best run-pass guys. Now, this year, he doesn't have to run that wing tee. Geronta Lewis from Cypress Bay. Big kid at 6'1", about 185 pounds. He throws it all over the place. He's a pretty agile quarterback, and I'm telling you, he'll give Cypress Bay a chance in every single game that they're in. Speaking about giving teams a success rate, what about John Franklin at South Plantation? Back in youth football, he was a receiver. Then he made his way to quarterback last year as a junior. Show in all the camps that he was one of the best. He could throw, he could run. He's a kid, he's about 6'1", about 185 pounds. And we finish it off with one of the more productive quarterbacks. This is a 6'4.5", 220-pounder, Tyler Cogswell. He's on his way to Arkansas. Tyler has made so many strides over the last year for American Heritage. He throws the ball very well. He's a leader. I told you guys, this is a great year for quarterbacks, no matter if it's Troy Cook in Dade County or Arkansas-bound Tyler Cogswell. We got some great things happening. Follow all year.
Thanks, Larry. Tico Peoples Gas is awarding the Tico Peoples Gas Player of the Year award to one player in Miami-Dade and one player in Broward. To nominate a player for consideration, visit SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. Look for the Tico Vote Here icon. Nominations are open until November 30th. Then everyone will revisit the site to vote on the finalists from each county. The player in each county with the most votes wins a beautiful trophy, and the schools that vote the most in each county wins a $500 donation. The winning players and schools are announced February 6th during our National Signing Day TV special live on NBC6.
The Player of the Year is brought to you by Tico Peoples Gas. Before you pick up the shovel, pick up the phone. Call 811.
Go to SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com, where you'll have recruiting overview powered by Larry Bluestein. Preview the weekly top 20. Preview the top games in Dade and Broward County. Catch up on Shaq's blog and game recaps. Nominate a candidate for the Tico Peoples Gas Player of the Year. Nominate a teacher for South Florida Chevy Dealers Teacher of the Year. Watch any of our TV shows you may have missed, listen to our Game of the Week, and read about the U.S. Army All-American Bowl nominees, plus a whole bunch more.
The Sports Medicine Timeout is brought to you by U18 Sports Medicine, your sports medicine provider for the young athlete.
The South Florida High School Football Show now continues with our U18 Sports Medicine Timeout. Coming to you from the Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital here at the Family Resource Center with Dr. Randolph Cohen. This week, Doctor, we're going to talk about the high ankle sprain. And let's discuss why a high ankle sprain is different from a normal ankle sprain.
All right, it's a common misconception. People don't really realize what that is, or is it anything? Does it just mean a bad ankle sprain? No, it's a different entity. So the ligaments that are on the ankle that connect the ankle to the foot are the typical ankle sprains that people get. And those heal relatively quickly. Usually they get a little of the rest ice compression elevation, and they're back on the field within a few weeks. A high ankle sprain is when the ligaments between the bones of the leg are affected, between the tibia and the fibula. And the ligaments there actually help pull those two bones together to form a cup, if you will, that holds the ankle in position. And when they're disrupted, it can either be an unstable injury or a stable injury. It's much more severe. It takes much longer to heal, and it can even require surgery.
What is the rehab like for a high ankle sprain?
For a high ankle sprain that's stable, it typically is going to require casting, not just a rest and some type of splintage or some type of brace. And the casting can take 6 weeks or even a little bit longer to get a high ankle sprain to have those ligamentous structures heal. If it's an unstable injury, it's going to require some screws or some suture anchors to help pull those bones back together to form an appropriate joint. And the rehab for that can take 3 months or so.
Now, most people, all they hear is ankle sprain.
Exactly.
And it's the high ankle sprain that really you cannot rush back from.
It's a different animal.
All right, doctor. Thank you very much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
The South Florida Chevy dealers will be recognizing outstanding educators and handing out $4,000 in donation. Help us select the 2012 South Florida Chevy Dealers High School Teacher Award, given out to one teacher in Miami-Dade and one teacher in Broward County, plus the teacher school wins a $2,000 general donation. Learn how to nominate a high school teacher for consideration by visiting SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. Look for the Chevy Teacher of the Year icon on the homepage and complete the nomination form. We are accepting nominations until January 16th. The winners will be announced February 6th live on NBC6 at 7 p.m. during the National Signing Day TV show hosted at Dave & Buster's Hollywood. Log on now to help the South Florida Chevy dealers present a beautiful trophy and award the $4,000.
The Chevy Cruze Echo also offers 42 mpg on the highway.
Actually, it's Cruze Eco, not Echo.
Just like either. Or either.
Or economical.
Or economical. Potato, potato, huh?
Actually, it's tomato, tomato.
Oh, that's right.
See your South Florida Chevy dealer. That's 42 miles per gallon highway on the fuel-efficient Chevy Cruze Eco. Come on in today and check it out for yourself.
Tico Peoples Gas presents Make the Call.
Hey, what's Bert digging up?
I don't know, planting a tree?
Did he call 811, before he started?
It doesn't sound like it.
Before you pick up the shovel, pick up the phone. Dial 811 and get your utility lines marked for free. Avoid the fines. Don't hit the lines. If you hit a utility line, you can interrupt your service and your neighbors too. Know exactly what you're digging yourself into. Call 811. Brought to you by Tico Peoples Gas.
Rhapsody puts millions of songs on your Metro phone, so you can create your life soundtrack. That's why everybody's moving to Metro.
The Coach of the Week is brought to you by Adidas. All in.
The South Florida High School Football Show continues. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. coming to you from Dave & Buster's in this week's Coach of the Week segment. We go up to St. Thomas High School. Rocco Casulo, a week ago, they got a big win at Sun Life Stadium against Columbus.
They needed that win, Joe, and it's nice to see that Coach Rock is getting recognized. He's in year 2 after Coach Smith taking on a program, taking care of a program that has a lot of tradition, and they will continue to have success.
Our Adidas Coach of the Week, Adidas All In. Rocco Casulo with Brian Saul.
Well, thanks, Joe and Don. We're here with this week, our first installment of the Adidas Coach of the Week, and we're here at familiar grounds of St. Thomas Aquinas High School with Coach Rocco Casulo. Rocco, this is your second year as a head coach. How does that feel?
It's great. It's obviously feel a little more comfortable this year, and the staff's excited, and the kids are definitely excited. So we're ready to roll.
Now, Coach, talk us through, a head coaching job is 12 months. What have you guys done the past 3-4 months to get that edge that you're going to see on Friday nights?
Well, it's actually started 7 months ago. Robbie Asadi got these guys going after signing day, 6 o'clock in the morning, off-season workouts, and the tone was set there. So they've been going hard for the last 7 months.
What have you seen from this team that you think will be kind of the stigma for them?
Seen leaders emerge, outstanding chemistry, and you see some hunger. You see some guys with a chip on their shoulder, and they want to go out this year and prove something.
Yeah, you mentioned that chip. I mean, last year you read the papers and not winning the district, had that chip on their shoulder. Have you seen guys that really take that leadership charge and learn something from that?
Absolutely. It's the 20th anniversary of the first state championship team in 1992.
These guys have really absorbed the tradition of this program, and they've been feeding off that for the last 7 months.
Now, Coach, on the eyes of the people on the sidelines, Joey Bosa seems like a guy that you got to highlight. Is he a leader? Have you seen him step up and get those players ready on the defensive side of the ball?
Absolutely, and not only Joey, Lance Virgil, Isaac Bruton, Scott Northcutt, and offensively John O'Korn and Mark Barr and Zach Provin, Schaffnacker. It's just a great senior bunch. And, the younger guys are really looking up to them.
Yeah, you mentioned the offense. I mean, you guys are looking good at the offensive line. You got a lot of beast with there and running back. How's the offense looking?
They look great. They really do. We got 8 starters back on offense, and they look more in sync. And they really want to go out there and prove something. They look explosive. They look fast. And, you still got to go out there and put together on Friday night. But I know our offensive coaches are really happy with what they've seen in camp.
As a coach, how have you handled the offseason? I'm sure after that loss at Dwyer, you were ready to get back out there, hit it hard. How have you learned that to win day by day as opposed to just on Friday nights?
Well, you said it right there. You got to focus on the day. Yes, it was tough. I had to go through that in 2009. It was a tough year getting through. Kids were hungry to get back and eager to get back, and that's the same feeling we have now. But you got to focus on the day. You got to focus on one day and one opponent, and that's what these guys have been doing.
All right, Coach Rocco Casullo, this week's Adidas Coach of the Week. 10 wins in his first year as a head coach. That makes him this week's Coach of the Week. Back to you guys at Dave & Buster's.
Thanks, Brian. Time now for the Sir Pizza Play of the Week, sponsored by Sir Pizza. Good to the very edge. St. Thomas Aquinas hosting Dillard. The Raiders, Drew Domino passing to Brendan Price. The ball bounces off of Price's hands, but wait, he still has his eyes on the ball. Catches the ricochet, takes a hit, and takes it into the end zone. Brendan Price with the eye on the prize Play of the Week.
Hi, I'm Laura Jormigis with this week's Army Bowl nominees, brought to you by the U.S. Army, Army Strong. This week we have 2 All-Stars from Miami. First up is Isaac McDonald, an outside linebacker from Champagnat Catholic School in Hialeah. Isaac measures in at 6'5" and 205 pounds. He racked up 75 tackles, 5 sacks, and 2 interceptions on defense, as well as 331 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns on offense. He has many offers from different colleges, including Arkansas, Clemson, and Oregon, just to name a few. Next up is Denver Kirkland, an offensive lineman from Booker T. Denver stacks in at 6'4" and 334 pounds. He is known to have very good feet and is a strong run blocker. There are many offers on the table for Denver, but he has a high interest in Florida State, Miami, and South Florida.
The South Florida High School Football Show is also on Facebook and Twitter. So remember to like us on Facebook at SFHSFS and follow us on Twitter at HSFBall as soon as you can. As a fan and follower, you can review and receive updates from our recruiting insider, news, weekly announcements, and game day scoring updates. Love deals? Our Facebook fan page showcases special deals and offers from our partners, including Sir Pizza, Sports Authority, Metro PCS, and many more.
At U18 Sports Medicine, our focus is on treating young athletes. Experienced pediatric orthopedic surgeons from Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital Department of Orthopedic Surgery work with the U18 staff to help meet a variety of needs: x-rays, MRIs, physical therapy, and much more. Our leading-edge facilities located at Memorial Hospital Miramar and Coral Springs are open year-round. U18 can help young athletes stay off the sidelines and on the field. A program of Memorial Healthcare System and Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital. Visit U18sportsmedicine.com.
The Chevy Cruze Echo also offers 42 MPG on the highway.
Actually, it's Cruze Eco, not Echo.
Just like either. Or either.
Or economical.
Or economical. Potato, potato, huh?
Actually, it's tomato, tomato.
Oh, that's right.
Sears, South Florida Chevy dealer. That's 42 miles per gallon highway on the fuel-efficient Chevy Cruze Eco. Come on in today and check it out for yourself.
The car on the left was filled up with low detergent gasoline, while the car on the right was filled up with BP gasoline with Invigorate, which helps clean and protect its engine, so it can get a few more miles per tank than the car on the left. Go a little farther with BP gasoline with Invigorate.
Dave & Buster's is constantly bringing the new. Like new games, Speed of Light, Connect 4, New drinks, new food. You may think, how are they going to make this better? I mean, look around. That seems impossible, right? But they always do. It's weird. It's like new, only newer.
More new games than ever. Play them with the Eat and Play combo, only at Dave & Buster's.
The keys to the game are brought to you by BP Gasoline with Invigorate, the preferred fuel of the South Florida High School football show.
Back on the South Florida High School football show, Joe Zagacki, Don Bailey Jr. Another great year on the radio, on Sports Radio 560 WQAM, with a preview of the complete radio schedule. Here's Mike Levine and Brian Saul.
Thanks, Joe and Don. Let's go over our schedule, Brian. Some outstanding games already in the works. We just completed 2 weeks, but how about the third? St. Thomas Aquinas, Don Bosco Prep. You might have heard of them from New Jersey. 14 state championships. St. Thomas has 6. That's 20 combined between the two teams that we're going to do coming up. How about that game?
It's going to be a huge game, big stage. Both teams know how to perform on those.
Coming up after that, you're going to have Carroll City against Northwestern, a great Miami showdown. Northwestern, a juggernaut program.
Yeah, both having some resurgence, new coaches, new blood. It's going to be a great matchup.
How about Miami Central going up against Columbus the week after? 2 outstanding programs, big schools going at it, lots of D1 talent.
Yeah, both teams nationally ranked, so it's going to be a good matchup, a lot on the line there.
After Columbus Central, of course, you have St. Thomas and Miramar. STA wants some revenge from last year's home loss to Miramar.
Now they got to go on the road, play Miramar. It's going to be a good matchup.
Booker T and Jackson. Booker T is getting national respect, and understandably so. Ice Harris has done a phenomenal job with that team.
And they got a good rivalry against Jackson. Quentin Flowers, one of the best young men out there playing high school football.
Brian, how about South Broward, Cooper City?
It's going to be a good matchup. Cooper City, one of the best coached teams last year. Let's see if they can rebound or if last year was just a Cinderella story.
And rounding out October, Central and Northwestern. I mean, that's just the game that everybody's got to do.
Do you have to say more? A bunch of Division I talent on that field. We're looking forward to that game.
Beginning of November, St. Thomas Aquinas, Cooper City. Another revenge game for St. Thomas. They lost at home to Cooper City last year.
Hard to believe, too. Cooper City won this district. The first time in 14 years St. Thomas didn't lock it down. You bet they're going to circle this one on their calendar.
And then wrapping up the regular season, Plantation and South Plantation.
A good rivalry. Both programs on the rise. Steve Davis doing a great job at Plantation. Coach Gatewood at South Plantation. It's going to be a really good matchup to end the regular season.
And then how about our playoff schedule? We take you up to the state semifinals where, Brian, everything is all for the marbles at that point. You can't lose one and still have your season survive, obviously. It's lose or go home. Nothing like playoff time in high school football in South Florida.
So many storylines, and we're really looking forward to it.
All right, that's our schedule. We hope you enjoy it, as we know we will as well. Joe, Don, back to you.
All right, fellas, thanks very much. Don Bailey Jr., who do you have? St. Thomas, Don Bosco Prep?
I'm a homer, Joe. St. Thomas.
That's 2 of us. All right, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week right here on the South Florida High School Football Show. So long, everyone.
The South Florida High School Football Show is brought to you by Metro PCS, the U.S. Army, BP Gasoline, U18 Sports Medicine, Adidas, Sir Pizza, South Florida Chevy Dealers, Tico People's Gas, and Dave & Buster's.
But I'm getting tired of people saying, we're not this anymore, we're done, the history, the tradition. They got the blueprint, okay, Dwyer, they're faxing it and giving it to everybody else. That's a wrap on us. Okay, you've worked too hard starting February 6th. Those 6 a.m. workouts, everything, okay? People have said it here, we're gonna set it again, okay? Return to dominance, let's go. Javars, give him a break.
Let's get the Abbeys on 3, Abbeys on 3. 1, 2, 3, Abbeys.